Good morning. We're here another Sunday at the Journey. Final service, which is it's weird. Whatever, that's weird. And thank y'all all for coming. I don't know more than half of y'all. Actually, I didn't know people were behind me. I just made a random look. So this is probably the most people I've ever seen at the Journey. They know all of you existed. So, it's good to see y'all. I'm gonna hand it over to Kelly. She has, I believe, a message from the district superintendent.
So this is a letter that Terry Smith has sent on behalf of himself and the district. Dear Pastor Tim and church family, it would be my desire to be with you today for your final Sunday of worshiping together as the Journey Church. However, I have a long-standing commitment to be at another church in the district that I need to honor. I want to assure you all that I'm praying for you today, asking the Lord to be especially close and sweet in His presence, and to comfort you in the midst of what I know is deep sadness. While this is a sad day, there is still much of God's goodness and faithfulness to celebrate. Over the approximately 60 years that your church has been in existence, scores of lives have been forever changed through faith in Jesus Christ and have followed Him in baptism. Some of you there today will tell the story that you met Jesus through the journey. All of you have found spiritual family in this church, and your lives will always be better for having been together as brothers and sisters in Christ. I know you share good memories, and in the midst of sadness and tears, I suspect there will be some laughter today as you reflect on those memories. I want to express my special thanks to Pastor Tim and Stephanie for their 8.5 years of good ministry at the Journey. They have loved you and invested themselves in your lives. May the Lord bless you abundantly, Tim and Stephanie, as you continue to follow Him. I'm grateful to the leadership team and the congregation for the gracious way in which you engaged with me in the process of coming to a decision to conclude the ministry of the church. There is never easy decisions or processes. However, you handled it prayerfully and with grace, and I want to say thank you. I commit to do my very best to be sure that the resources of the journey are used to advance Christ's kingdom and bring Him glory. I pray that the Lord will lead each of you to a new church home where you will find family and a commitment to Christ and His Word. If I can ever serve you in any way, feel free to contact me at the Easton PA District Office. Keep the faith, Terry Smith, District Superintendent. So today there will be a time for those of you who want to share your stories of connection with this church, with your experiences of faith and friendship and renewal. And I really encourage you to do that today. For us, this is a meaningful time to celebrate what we have had here at the Journey. So we will be sharing those stories together and concluding our time together. So let's pray and just engage our Father in worship today. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the journey. We thank you for a community of faith, full of love and acceptance, for stories of growth, for stories of maturity, and your messy grace in our lives. We thank you for Pastor Tim and Steph. We thank you for the way that they have nurtured us as their congregants. And we thank you for the love, the support, the prayer, the friendship here today. And we just honor you today with this service and celebrate a new season in life and celebrate a season that has enriched all of us. In Jesus' name, amen. Please stand and worship.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Song switch.
I don't even know where it is.
Is it not in there?
No.
Yes. Love the journey so much. Yes, we're in this key.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce to you Craig Wyman, a man that doesn't really need much of an introduction. For some, as I look around at some of your faces, for some of you, he's the only pastor that you knew. And he served here for 8.5 years, and he's very dear to the people here. And he's not only your pastor, but he's my pastor too, and my friend, and my mentor. And Buffy and Craig have been phenomenal support to Stephanie and I, and to all of you here. And for some of you, I'm just going to tell a brief story. Some of you know this story, some of you do not. But Craig has been an ambassador for the journey in the past. As many of you know, he worked in the district office. And when we had our tattoo party here several years ago, there were some in our district that wanted me fired. There were some that had issues with the tattoo party at our church. And Craig went into that volatile situation, and he brought peace, and he brought comfort, and he brought support. And one of the things I've always appreciated about Craig is his ability to go into situations like that and bring wisdom and strength and leadership. And he is a phenomenal leader. And so, Craig, if you could come up and share.
Thanks. Well, I am really delighted that we have so many folks who were able to be here today that are part of the history of the church here, who may not have been part of the church as of recent days. Tim mentioned my work with the district and in my role there, which is now concluded, but I had the assignment, I guess you could say, as a district official to go and represent the district in a few of these kinds of occasions. And I must say, this is how it's supposed to be done. This is how it's supposed to be done. There's a lot of emotions here today, but there's good reason for that. And the pictures and the celebration and the tears and everything else we're experiencing here today, I hope it's okay to say this, but it hurts like hell. But that's a good thing. Because if it didn't, something would be really wrong. I was in one church where they all just couldn't wait to get out of there because they couldn't stand each other. This is a hard but good day in one weird sense. 4 words to start off my remarks, and many of you are not used to me working from prepared remarks, but to keep me on track, because there's so many things that could be said here today, I'm working from prepared remarks today. The 4 words to start off what I have to say today. Small church, big impact. Small church, big impact. I said it more than a few times when I was the pastor of this church, and I've said it more than a few times since then. The journey may have been a small church, but it has had a big impact. This is not to suggest in any way that somehow a big church is necessarily bad, or that staying small should be a goal, but it's rather to declare that the true measure of a local church, whether it be this one or any other local church, is not in how many show up on a given Sunday morning or are on the membership rolls, nor is it in how large and elaborate the building and property is. Think about it this way. When was Jesus most successful? When was Jesus most successful? I'm not talking about success in a business model sense in which all of the lines on the chart are going up and to the right. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but in what it means to fulfill mission. In the sense of Jesus fulfilling his mission, when was he the most successful? Yes, he was successful fulfilling his mission when feeding thousands from a small lunch. There was a kingdom manifestation going on there. When he was healing scores who were brought from near and far, yes, he was fulfilling mission. When he was preaching to the multitudes on a hillside by a lake, yeah, he was fulfilling mission. But when was he at the pinnacle of mission fulfillment? When was Jesus the most successful? It was not when the crowd swarmed to his celebrity, but rather when he was alone. When he was absolutely alone with the Father and said, "Not my will, but yours be done." When he was absolutely alone, gasping his very last breath and saying, "It is finished. A lot of people can show up for services and programs. Many dollars can flow in through the offerings, and a sizable number of square feet can be occupied. But how much impact is being made for all of that is the real question. In my own journey, I've seen that oftentimes it's small, unacclaimed churches that will never be written up in Christianity today, that when you look at them on a, and now I'm going to use business terminology, but it's apt. When you look at them on a per person, per dollar, per square foot basis, they are making incredible impact. They're making the most of kingdom resources. They're being true stewards of the kingdom. So the question is, what difference will it have made for a local church, any local church, and this one? I used to ask this question from time to time when I was pastor here. Maybe some of you remember. What will it have mattered that we were here? What difference will it have made when all is said and done? Now, you whose threads of individual stories at one time or another have woven together into the story of this church, you know firsthand, you know the impact quotient of the journey, and you know that it has been quite high. Sometimes I think we've all at one time or another felt a little apologetic about our small size because of, quite honestly, the culture we live in. Some of you remember this exhortation that I was giving to myself as much as you at times. Bigger isn't better, better is better. But we live in a culture that says bigger is always better, and so maybe we feel and felt like we've needed to apologize at times. But when you really think about it, you know those words, small church, big impact, are true because of your own experience here. You know because you've been part of the storyline. And you know because the arc of your own story has been bent in so many incredibly wonderful ways by being part of the journey. I know too. Because of my own story and the story of my family are so significantly woven into, and quite honestly, our stories are very significantly defined by the journey and what we experienced here. I appreciate Tim's very kind words. I may not always be the master of what he said, and there are times I failed at that pretty badly here. And it was in those failures and in some of those experiences that helped me sometimes be able to walk into very hard situations and know how to make peace. But it's because of the experience, because of the journey, because of the interwoven story of mine with yours and yours with each other's. And because of that experience, we know that it is true. Journey's storyline traces back to 1956. I don't think there's anybody in this room who goes back to then with the church. When I first started here, we had 2 charter members. Pepper Days, beverages, they go back a little ways. Maybe not quite to 56. There was a couple that were charter members when I first pastored here. But the storyline goes back to 1956 when a group of people led by Pastor Walter Schenk started meeting for worship in the Oxford Valley Elementary School, just a short distance up Trenton Road here. And 1 year later, they built this facility. For those of us who have in one way or another worked on this facility and have complained about certain things about it over the years, Bill and I, we spent so many hours in here doing one thing or another to this place, and they were such great experiences. And had the things we complained about, why did they do this way? That's just how it is, you know? Guess what? Somebody's going to come along in a bunch of years and say of us, why did they do it that way? But because of that, and because of things we decided to change, Bill and I and others of you and teams of you have worked on this facility and an opportunity to experience life together. And when we remember those times, boy, they're really good. They're really rich. It tears our heart in two. But it's good when our heart tears in two because it means we experienced something worth experiencing. So anyway, they built this facility in 1956. And for many years thereafter, Fairless Hills Alliance Church made its mark in this community and in the lives of those it touched. When I was pastor here, from time to time, I would end up doing ministry with people who had, at one time, as a kid, grown up here. Funeral for a parent who had some connection to this church. And you begin to realize the impact that went before us and the things that we've all done for the last 17 years. I think it's kind of pretty cool symmetry that Tim and I both had 8.5 years worth here. Mm-hmm. It was all built on the shoulders of people who went before us. They gave us the opportunity to do what we've done. And the storyline of this church by the mid to late 1990s had come to a place where the church's viability was somewhat questionable. And yet God had not finished some things he wanted to do here. His story for this church, at that time Fairless Hills Alliance Church, now the journey, wasn't done yet. He began to place several younger couples here. Those of you who are part of the church now know Chuck and Sandy Pinsick very well. They were among those couples. Yeah, they were younger then. Leon and Jen Kaufman, many of you know them recently. Before they moved to Montana, he was an elder here, worship director. There's some folks here now, Keith and Jane Wilcox. And let me find everybody. Jody and Chris. They got married my first year here. Audra Jenkins, where did she get? There you are. She was in high school then. I hope I haven't missed folks. I'm looking around. But there were other couples like that. And God started giving them some vision. And there were some who were just a little more mature. I'll use that other word that we all hate because now it's me too. I don't know if you've seen all the gray. Who gave permission. Folks like these two right here in the front row who have been a fixture here. Margaret and Ginger. Joy and your husband who's now with Jesus. You guys gave us permission to do some kind of crazy stuff. And so we took advantage of that permission. God started birthing some new vision with this energy that came. And then it came time for the change of pastor, and so they called a 30-year-old who was bent on doing things differently. In December 1997, my wife, 2 young children, and I moved here. I will remember with great fondness till my dying day, the day we pulled up with all of our belongings to the house here, and I saw so many of you. Many of you are here, standing there on that driveway, and how you welcomed us that night. We spent 8.5 years here, experimenting, innovating, otherwise remaking the church. It was during that time that the church changed its name to The Journey. We poured our lives into this community of believers, and they returned the favor. Some of you heard me tell this story before, but the last night in the parsonage here, my wife and I finished cleaning up. The kids were grown at this point. They were at our new apartment out in Yardley. My wife and I were going out the door, and I looked back across. I'm a very reminiscent person, and I looked back across the room. I kind of had gone through the house, reliving some things, and we were getting ready to close the front door, and I said to my wife, wow, our kids grew up here. She looked at me and said, "So did we." We poured our lives into this community of believers, into what we were about here, and yeah, you guys returned the favor. It was also during that time we were here in which a PBU, Philadelphia Biblical University, now Karen, or however you say that. Some of you get that joke. PBU freshman named Tim Hickman walked through that door for the very first time. I'll never forget it. I remember it. I was actually teaching a class. I was standing right over there, and I saw this guy. There were doors actually on that doorway right there. And it opened slowly, and a very clean-shaven, very non-black dressed, a little bit thinner, younger version of this guy walked through that door. Little did I know then how important he would be to what God still had to be accomplished through this church. Nor did I know how much he, as well as another PBU student named Stephanie, who began attending soon thereafter, would mean to this church, but also would come to mean to Buffy and me personally. Tim and Steph became a catalyst to an ongoing group of PBU students who became not merely attenders here, but were active ministry participants. They contributed profoundly in our children, youth, and worship ministries. Tim also completed his pastoral ministry internship with us here before his graduation. And then 3 years later, when God called me to another ministry, to go to the district office, he led Tim back here to the Journey as its pastor. I think it was a perfect progression. Tim and Stephanie continued and expanded upon the vision and the values of creating a community centered in Jesus that would be a safe place for people no matter where they happen to be on their spiritual journey. And I've watched with great delight over the last 8.5 years as they more deeply cultivated a church reality in which questions are as important as the answers, and in which faith can be explored just as much or more as a journey than as a destination. I count Tim and Stephanie as dear friends. And I am proud of them and what they have allowed God to accomplish through them in this last leg of what God had in mind for this church. Tim and Stephanie, I honor you. I'm sure everybody here honors you as well, but I honor you. I know this is a very hard day for you. I want you to know something. You can say, "It is finished," and know that God is pleased.
Yes.
It's a hard day for all of us who have a piece of our heart, or maybe all of our heart, in this place. And I've heard it said of last services of a church that is closing that it's the church's funeral service. If it's made properly, I think this analogy is actually quite true. See, a funeral is a time in which we mourn because a loved one has passed. Yet it is also a time when we celebrate the life that was lived and the meaning of that person to us. Many of us have been at a funeral of somebody we so deeply love, and there are tears, and during the meal afterward, there's also laughter, and it seems like this strange blend, right? There's something powerful in that. There's something so powerful in that we mourn and celebrate at the same time. That's what we do today. We mourn, but we also celebrate. But a funeral is something even further when we allow it to be. It is a time to embrace the legacy of our loved one that will live on. It becomes sort of that beginning point to say, now we embrace legacy. And it now lives on in us. Today, yes, we mourn the loss of the journey, yet we celebrate what the journey has been and has meant to us, but also to so many others. We rejoice in the impact that she has had upon people who had all but given up on church. People who came to know the grace of God through Jesus. People who could work out their stuff no matter what it was. People who know God more deeply today, know what the truth of your grace is enough is today than before they encountered this faith community. People whose lives, just like mine, though not made perfect, have been changed. And so we declare together today with gratitude, now that all is said and done, that indeed it has made a world of difference that this church existed. It made a world of difference. And we are so thankful to God. As we sing these songs, may they come forth from places of great gratitude to say, God, you are so kind that you gave me, you gave us a chance to be part of this. It is only right and fitting also for us to embrace the legacy of the journey that will live on. The legacy that will live on through each one of our stories.
We're going to have you all stand again and worship some more.
God, we just thank you that you are good. You are good to us in this transition. You are good to us in our experience as a congregation. And you are good to us where we go. In Jesus' name.
You are good, you are good, when there's nothing good in me. You are love, on display for all to see. You are light, when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sins. You are peace, when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wandering. You are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are life, in your death has lost its sting. And you are right to thank you for this, as I like to say, banging church, God. This church is freaking awesome. So God, as we're in this time right now, God, I ask you to hold us, God, and just pray that you continue to be with us throughout this service, God, because it's tough. It's tough coming up here and knowing that this is the last time I'll be singing here. God, we've had so many great things that has happened here, God. And I know that wasn't a waste. The amount of people, the amount of lives since 1956, that's crazy. And God, you helped this church endure. And God, the legacy, I love that was said. The legacy will continue, the legacy will go on, and it's something that we all have in our hearts and we're able to share and enjoy. So God, thank you for this congregation again. In Jesus' name, amen. Y'all can see.
Well, now we're going to have an opportunity for many of you to share your stories of how your time here or your experience here or the people here or how God has changed you over the years. I know this is a church of introverts now, and for many of you, maybe before this service, you were trying to gain the courage enough to speak, and now that there are many people here, it might be difficult for you to do so. But I encourage you to do so if you can. Because there are people here that need to hear your story.
Yes.
There are people here that don't know some of your stories. So we're going to open up. The first person that's going to share with you today is Laura. And then after she's done, you have the opportunity to come. You can come up to the in front of the mic and share if you want to. If you're more comfortable standing in your seat, you could do that as well. Or just sitting down. However you're comfortable, you could do that. And then once everybody's had an opportunity to share, Brandon will conclude and share his story. So Laura, could you come forward?
everybody. I'm the dumb one, silly, crazy one in the church. I would say crazy and silly. The most extroverted person of everyone in here, probably. Also, break things from. Alright, I can't. They told me that I have some kind of iron in my blood, my wife, that I break electronics. I think it's true. Exactly. I think I broke the drums too. If y'all can't hear me, like, let me know. Try to keep it short. I can talk a lot in circles. It felt good to be the only black guy in church. I felt like a spokesperson for everyone, you know, for all of us. No, but seriously, how I came to this church, and I shared this last week or week before too. They had the tattoo party. So the tattoo party is basically what drew me here. I remember sitting around the cafeteria table at PBU, and they were like, this church is doing like the tattoo party. I'm like, church doing a tattoo party? The church doing a tattoo party. They're like, oh, that's serious. Like people like coming back in. Usually when you get your tattoo, they give you like that, like little soaking thing, whatever it is, some kind of band-aid, I guess. And he was black, so everybody kept coming back. It's all these black stuff. And I'm like, the heck? So I come here and it's like set up there. It's just tattoo galore. Just people getting tatted left and right. And they got the books. I'm like, snaps, yo. It's a tattoo party at a church. Like I'm like shocked. So I actually got my first tattoo here, which was, I guess I was branded. And then ever since that day, I think that's the same day I met Crazy Kelly. Kelly was the one that was singing up here with us. She came out of nowhere just yelling, hey, how you doing? Da-da-da. And I was like, we can't come to this church. This is weird. I've never seen somebody get greeted like that. Like she's just like so 0 to 100. And I was just like, she's crazy. I can't come here. But of course, as time went on, Renee started going to small groups. I still was kind of iffy. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll check it out. I met with Tim. We actually had dinner at his house. And he kind of gave me the rundown of the church, the vision of it and everything. And I was like, I can get on board with that. So being here, I was just, I don't know, man. It was I freaking love this church. Like I said before, this church is like awesome. I had the opportunity of being a worship leader for the first time, which is like crazy to me because I feel like I'm not a leader at all. I kind of had the same, like, you're feeling, Laura, the sense of like, I don't know, like I got a lot of ideas, but trying to say them or do them is the hard part. I mean, you gotta ask Matt, and I'm like, strum like this instead of strumming like this, and it's like, that doesn't mean anything. But he definitely, Tim, like, saw potential. Tim, Brandon, I was just like, Dion, you got this. So, can't worship leader. That's the good stuff. It's more good stuff. But as far as like tragedies in my life, yesterday was a year that my brother died. He was shot in Philadelphia, and I was done. I remember like being home, laying in bed, trying to figure out like what I wanted to do. Like I was so bored. Renee was sleeping, and I get a phone call, and it's like, they killed him. I'm like, what are you talking about? My mom was just frantic. She hangs up on me. I called back, and it was 11:13 at night, and I got the phone call. They shot and killed Sean, and I was like, I was done. I was so done. I ran out the house, like in my drawers, run into the car, and they had to like pull me back to be like, yo, you gotta at least get dressed before you go home. And I just remember doing like 100 down the highway, nonstop. And was rough. It was rough. It was I know. I didn't know what to think. Like, I'm a family of 11, so for us to lose one is crucial. Like, I took pride in 11, and I still consider it still. Going through that, this church, man, this church, and there's people in this church that I've never seen in such emotional state for me. Can't thank this church enough for that. Like, the thing, we were running low on funds as far as for the funeral, and this church came through. Like I said, I got a family of 11, so you can do the math as far as the tree. We had billions of people coming in and out, and our biggest thing was, I'm Jamaican, so we feed people, and that's our biggest thing. We eat. I mean, it's no secret. Try to wear black to cover it up, but it doesn't. Your shirt is tight. And we were thinking, how are we going to feed all these people? And once again, the journey came through. Giants cards, waters, food, and everyone that came through my parents' house had a plate. And for us, that's like, it's like the utmost welcoming, thank you, everything. It's like the most comfortable we possibly can be. And the journey has done so many other things for me and Renee. It was her first church. It's a church that she actually came and sought out. And Tim is just freaking amazing. I love your messages, dude. I mean, I love being taught. I love it. And I can just point out Karen, love Karen, you know that. Bethany always get mad because I give Karen more attention than I give her. Sorry, I don't know. But yeah, I can point out so many others that has just had an impact on my life and helped me to be where I'm at now. Thank you so much. Thank you, like, for everything.
Dad, am I putting this on right? The journey will always be a special place for me. My dad talks about, this is where we grew up and we were raised, and I remember the date, December 15th, was 97 when we moved in. I was in 3rd grade, and I think it was Jane and the Barnharts. We were up in the annex. I think we had pizza that night, and that was the middle of 3rd grade, and my parents left. My dad went to the district office. After my 11th grade year in high school, but then, me and Adrian ended up staying around. I was halfway through college by the time I left the journey. So, 3rd grade to halfway through college to visiting, and I'm about to be 26 in a couple of weeks, which I'm sure some of the people that were here that first night in 97, I remember Chris and Jody were here at the very beginning, at least for me and Adrian's stay, and Fred and Joey, and Sandy and Bill, and then Tim and Stephanie came along short after. But you know, when they said that I had to write a letter for the goodbye, I was kind of had to think about that one for a while. Barely able to walk up to the front and talk. But as I was writing the letter, I'm thinking about, you know, the different times. I remember John and Johanna at the all-nighters, and Tim and Stephanie, and then me and Adrian would go over to their dorm rooms at PBU sometimes and hang out. You know, when my parents went to Life, I think we stayed with Keith and Jane a couple of times. The Barnharts, the Lowersons, almost at Pepper Days. No, Chris and Jody, so we kind of just bounced around the church when it came time for Life. You know, every, I don't know, is it a year? I don't know. But actually, it's not even Life because that's for youth. They went to council. So when they went to council, we stayed with, you know, whoever had a couple of extra beds. So it was like a big extended family that kind of helped my parents raise me and Adrian to the point where we're at now. To, you know, I'm 26, and when I walk into work every day, and I walk into, every time I click the door open, I walk into, you know, darkness of, you know, 15 teenagers that come from broken homes or mental health or just different things. And I think about the times of the journey. Certain, you know, times that kind of laid that foundation for when I left, and different people stepped in and helped build that foundation that, you know, my parents had a big part of, and then Tim and Stephanie, because then Tim became my pastor. You know, the different just life conversations, which weren't very long because I'm one of the introverts, and you know, people don't hear me talk very much, so that's why I had to do it now, to let everyone know how the journey and everybody impacted me. And I think back at certain times after I'd left here to the different things and the different people that were impacted. And one of the things in my letter was, you know, there are going to be people that don't even know what the journey is. They never will hear about Ferris Hill Alliance Church or the journey. They weren't here this Sunday. They may have never walked through those doors. They may have driven past the building at some point but never knew it was a church. That when the doors close for the last time today, when we leave here as the church, we'll be impacted. And people that never heard of the journey because of how you guys impacted me and Adrian, and then when my dad and mom went on, are impacted and never know what the journey is. The kids that I think about at work, or the people that I work with, have no idea what even church is, or impacted somehow because of how we were raised. And I think about the kids I grew up with, and Sandy running youth group, dealing with me and Alex Sabo sometimes running around. And I remember when his dad had passed away, sometimes, you know, weird things pop up in my head, and I remember memories of the journey. You know, my dad is letting the church know, and, you know, obviously I couldn't handle it, so I walked out because I didn't want anyone to see. But it hit me today when I saw him walk through the door. Michael, I remember, walked back to the bathroom, put his arm around me, because that's how the church was when we grew up. If anyone needed anything, they put our arm around us. I remember Christmases, we always got either, you know, gift cards or whatever. You guys didn't have a lot of money, but when it came time at Christmas time, we saw the heart of the church. And when I was growing up, to kind of bring it full circle in the journey, when my dad was here and then when Tim took over, it was always brought back to Christ and the gospel. Okay? So the people that are impacted that will never hear of the journey, we're spreading the gospel and making disciples. And I kind of wrote it as a funny thing, as a cliche for Tim and Stephanie at the end of the letter. Put a little Bible verse in there about making disciples. But when I was writing it, the thing that caught me is that, and I will be with you until the very end of the age. When the doors close, he will still be faithful to us. And he'll still continue to use us, everyone in the room, to continue to impact people that never even heard of this place.
First year there, I was like, okay, I had just come from Moody Institute in Spokane, Washington, to transfer to PBU, and I was like, I have to find a church. And I spent the whole year just having a hard time trying to find a church because at Moody we had to like visit like 5 different churches, and then you could pick a church. You couldn't find one and like it and stay there. So I went through a whole year in Spokane. I'm trying to find a church and going to all these churches, and I'm like, I feel like doing this. So after my first year at PBU, I came home, and like the week before I came back to school, fall of 2012, I think, my parents were like, you know what? We're gonna find you a church. I'm
that, but it was a very significant time in my life. And Pastor Craig was our pastor, and my children were 10 years younger, and they were part of Pulse at the time, and Karen was part of Pulse, and Logan, and we had such a good time. And I remember having the opportunity to be part of the worship team with Michael for a time, and got to share my testimony about my salvation, and I even renewed my wedding vows to my then husband at the time. And even though that marriage didn't work out the way I think people would have liked it to, it was part of my journey. And I remember being part of the team that actually was part of when we changed the name to The Journey. That happened while I was here. And I think it's really cool to be connected to such a wonderful body. This church is so unique. And I've come back to visit a couple times. You know, my journey has taken me to different places, and I've come back a few times, and we now refer to this church as the church with the comfy couches. And that's that church. Yeah, I remember that church. I think it was Bill Beveridge, who wrote and told me that the journey was closing, and that made me really sad. And I thought, well, maybe I should come to the last service and just say goodbye to some people that I haven't seen for a while. And as I was driving here today, I was thinking, what is kind of cool is that I'm still connected to so many people. I ran into Audra at a little Methodist church down in North Wildwood this past summer. And Johanna and my daughter Amy are in a house church together, or a house church community together. So it's really cool that the bonds have lasted. And when I was driving here and I was praying, and I'm thinking, God, do I belong here? Should I come today? Should I come or should I not come? And God said, these are your spiritual brothers and sisters, and you always will be. And I'm just very grateful to have had the journey as part of my family. And I just want to say thank you, and that's why I came.
My name's Cameron, and I wasn't expecting to talk today, but I thought after all this and Buffy's introduction, why not? I've been coming here for about 12 years.
preaching, and came back a couple weeks and not convinced yet, but I wanted to give it a shot for my brother's sake, you know, because he was so concerned about my soul. And one day I got into a conversation with Tim and a few of the other college students, and I don't remember I remember Michael Fox, I remember you, I don't remember who else was there, but there were about 5 of them. And I remember all these questions and telling him what I thought about God and how we're pawns in his big game and all that stuff. And he just likes to play with our lives. And it's just, it was so hard for me to come back. And they talked to me a lot about it. And the next week,
and a lot of changes. And sometimes we think, holy mackerel, what are they doing? You know, you're moving this and that. And then after I married Fred and we had Jody, we decided that as long as the church preached the Word of God, the singing had changed a lot, and I enjoyed it. My husband didn't so much, but the Word of God was being presented. And, we had friends here. We saw a lot of young people come in and change, and the different pastors, and it was almost like your kids. And we realized how imperfect we were as an older couple. And I'm 74 years old, and I'm still learning. And I'm learning from younger people. And I hope there's something that I can give to them, too. And I thank you. God is a merciful God. And He is with us. And He is my strength. Thank you for all the people in cheering today. And many times I've talked about Karen and her piercings. She's just a young girl. Piercings here and all over. And it's amazing to see how God changes you. You were still the same girl, and He loved you back then, the same as He does now. And it takes us a while to realize that. As young people and then as adults too. As I said, I'm still learning. I've learned a lot from marriage through the younger pastors. I think the older ones were afraid to tackle it. They didn't deal with it themselves. Back then, they didn't. And Fred and I had a good marriage because of that. And I hate to think about going through a marriage without somebody helping you along, because we will all have problems. And only God can solve some of them. But I thank you for all your lives and what an impression you made on us. And we enjoyed our time here. Thank you.
Keith nudged me. So maybe he has something to say through me. I don't know. I was going to say what's been on my mind as I look around. Craig said, that the church is built on shoulders of those who have come before us. And perhaps that is the collective conviction that we hold and that we pass on. And perhaps it's the thread that is woven through all of you here today and our stories that we share. So as I look around, this is what I was thinking as I was sitting there. That, of course, a space is sacred, things are not, but those things are linked to a person and a memory, and those are sacred. So, I thought, you know, when you go to a war memorial, particularly the Vietnam one, it's so moving because of all the names there, the collective conviction of all those. And so I would like to start, if you would let me, some names, perhaps, that we hold dear in our heart. And if you have any of those, and some of the older folks, you can go beyond these. Oh, I'm sorry. Wise folks, the
steering wheel.
Speed down every Sunday. What an inspirational lady. June Day, another beautiful woman of God. There's such a history here, an amazing history. What a beautiful, picture of God's family. This is beautiful. I ran into Sandy out in the hallway, and this is going really long, and I said, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful testimony to what God has done in this place. I'm just going to ramble a couple of things off my head. One time when Craig and Buffy and Keith and Jane had to go away to counsel, around my table I had Paul and Adrian, and I had Seth, I had Code, and I had my first daughter Emma, and we were all sitting at my table, and I remember feeling at that moment, my goodness, I love all these kids. It was the spark of something in me that I wanted to have a large family, which I have 4 children now. But that moment, it was such a beautiful moment to have all those kids around my table. It was just wonderful. I started coming to this church when I was 10, and growing up here was sometimes difficult. There were a couple moments or a couple years where I was the only kid here. Did not want to come to church many, many times. I remember sitting in the pew, always loving, just leaning up against my dad's chest, being glad that even though I wasn't always getting it, even though sometimes coming here was a drag as a teenager, still being thankful that my parents brought me to church. As I got older, I was in nursing school, and I met a gentleman during one of my summers where he just needed a home health aide, and I would go to his home. And he was a Jewish man, an amazing man. His name was Larry Hoffman. And my husband's making me cry. I was doing really good. He full of life, this man, and his body was very, very badly beaten down by MS. But his mind was beautiful and just very loving. And he asked me one day, as I was helping him, he's like, Jody, you got to tell me why you're a happy person, because you just don't see many happy people. Why are you so happy? And it was a moment that I could connect with him as to what God had done in my life. And it was so meaningful to me that after I shared with him the story of God, and that he was interested in learning more, that Craig would spend time with him. He would come and meet with him and take the time with him and journey life with him. This place has given me, the people in this place have given me many, many things. Someone said Andy and Julian Mercurio, tough time as a teenager, really struggled in certain areas of my life. And Jillian, Andy's wife, took time. She would spend time with me. She would take me out to Pizza Hut and let me just talk. And for a teenage girl, my goodness, what better than an ear to listen? The welcome. Goodness. People pouring into your life. People willing to walk life with you.
So glad that many of you who set a foundation for us are here today to share your stories, partly because it's helped me stop crying so much, and partly because we see what has led up to the impact that the journey's had on my life. And without the foundation and the legacy that many of you have so prayerfully and patiently resources, your time, your hearts into here, my life would not have been transformed in the way that it was because of the ministries here. But I would really like to take some time and really focus on you guys, Tim and Steph, about as my pastors, as my friends, as my confidants. You have meant so incredibly much to me. I am not a person who allows people into my heart. As another pastor's kid, the journey has, for me, been such a healing place. The day my husband and I walked in the doors, we had been on a search for a church for quite a while, a place that was ours and our relationship, and not our families, not our histories, not our denominational past, ours. And we wandered for a long time, and when we came here, there was a sense of home. However, we looked Tim directly in the eye and said, we will not participate in any kind of ministry here. We're done. So we're here to be nurtured and to be poured into, which is not something that people who are born in ministry tend to do. And it only took us about 2 months to become ridiculously over-involved. But in that time, we learned boundaries. We learned our strengths as a couple. We've been able to share arm in arm in dirty jobs and in emotionally rewarding jobs. But for me, really, it's been about such a place of rest and such a place of healing. I used to call the journey a hospital. So many people have come in these doors just completely broken and completely, utterly emaciated by the church, by life, by abuse, by mental health issues, including myself. And to come here and be stitched up by His grace and His mercy has only happened through the ministry, for me, through Tim and Steph. And the place that they created of safety. This is a haven. And the problem with hospitals is you can't stay there forever. And I believe that that is part of why the journey is coming to a close today. So many people have been healed. And so many people have grown in such unique ways. And you guys, as our pastors and our friends, have set the foundation for that. And there have been some of the darkest times in my life have happened during my time here at the journey. Times of loss, times of terror, and every moment that I faced where I thought, I can't even breathe another breath, I can't even take another step, my heart would be knit together through the prayers of Tim and Steph. I knew that they would come alongside me and be there, bear witness to pain, without fixing it, without solving it, but bearing witness. And that's what I needed. I needed people to just let it be not okay. And that is the legacy of the journey, that we are overwhelmed with God's grace and that we can do this together. And whether we are not meeting in a physical building anymore, whether Brandon and I live in Georgia and you guys are all here, our hearts are knit together and we're not doing it alone. And so many of you have touched my life in unique ways, and many of you are underappreciated. And Sandy Pensick, you've touched my heart. You made a chocolate fountain for me for my baby shower, and you knew every detail of the tiniest things that meant something to me, and you put your soul into it. And Renee, my friend, my loved one, you have brought encouragement to my soul in immeasurable ways. You have sat with me and you have been intentional about our relationship. Stephanie, the fact that you're the only person in my life that calls me, that you would call me and say, let's go shopping. Like, when you're the person who does that for everyone else, to have you do that for me, I can't even tell you how much that meant. And Laura, your sweet support and strength in my heart invitation. You are who you are, and you are loved, just as God loves us. And when my husband and I have been able to dedicate our first daughter here, we did not choose any godparents because the community of faith was that. We didn't need godparents. We had 40 people who were devoted to loving us and loving our daughter. And that special presence of God that came that day was something I will never forget. And I'm just so grateful, though, because Stephanie and Tim, you are the image bearers of Christ, and you created this environment, and you are a success. And I really hope that today that you hear that your heart is ministered to, and that you know gospel is the success. The healing is the success. You and your lives are the ministry. The ministry is not external. You are the ministry, and you are success. And we love you. We love you so much.
I don't think there's ever been this much talking at the journey. We would, sometime, I've only been here under Tim, and we'd go to Motto sometimes with a big group of people, and there wouldn't be this much talking. When we first came here, it was really funny because we were all just a bunch of 20-something, most of us. And a lot of us were married, but some of us were just dating. And just over the past, I guess, 6 years or so since we first came here, when we first walked through the door, we've seen a lot of people get married and have kids. But I remember when we first got here, the big joke was, you're next to have a baby. And I think we were one of the first ones that kicked that off, and then it was just this baby boom, and everybody was terrified to play the game anymore or to drink the water. And I think who's next right now is the journey. We're about to send off a whole bunch of new people, a whole lot of life out into the world. We're not going to be in this vessel anymore. In a lot of ways, that's really a huge loss. There's no way around that. That's a huge loss, especially for the demographic that this church has attracted and nurtured. The mid-20s to early 30s, yeah, I included myself with the 20-year-olds in that. A lot of us are so disenchanted with the church and with organized religion and stuff, and that's how a lot of us came here, was wounded and broken and, basically on the verge of giving up on church, and who knows, giving up on God. It was bad. We were wounded and broken. But when we walked through those doors, like Kelly was saying, so many of us, we found healing here. Tim recognized our wounds. He showed us the gospel. He showed us how to heal. That's what we found here. But the problem with us young people is that we're kind of nomads. And so we go to one place and we're not settled yet. And so we move on to another place. And I have never seen a place that contracts just as much as it grows at the same time. People were always coming here, finding healing for a few years, and then they would move on to be closer to family or to become pastors or youth pastors. And it was like this place was just a heart pulsating all the time with people just flowing through it, just sending life out into the world. Today, we're all going to go out those doors for the last time. But so many of us, we're leaving with restoration. that's a thing that we're taking with us. Not every church that closes, you can say that. I mean, this is a place where people were healed, truly restored. And the journey has served its purpose in my life. There was a purpose, and that purpose has come to completion, and I'm a different person, and I'm going to take that with me because it's changed who I am, my identity. I think it is absolutely true to say that the journey truly rescued me from bitterness and anger. I know how, I'm not very good at it all the time, but I know how to find peace in my life, even though I still deal with things. I know that this is possible. I know it's possible to find healing because it happened for me. And the thing that just, breaks my heart a little bit is the idea that maybe, Tim, maybe you don't believe it quite yet. But look around. Just look at people here. Listen to what they're saying. It's real. You can believe it. It's true. It's real. And I'd like it if you could come up for a second. We had something we wanted to get to. People contributed to this, just in case you ever thought about forgetting what you've accomplished through your ministry. Just got together, and it's a scrapbook full of letters from people whose lives that you've impacted. So anytime you even think about forgetting, or anytime you even think about, maybe I didn't accomplish what God intended for me to accomplish, just look at that book and know that it's just the tip of the iceberg. It would be physically impossible to capture on paper the impact that your vision and your preaching of the gospel of love has had on us, the community, and the people who just walked in for a little while. We'll never know all of it. So we just wanted to give this to you as a reminder so that you'll never forget.
I'd like to pray for you guys. Father, we thank you for our pastors. We thank you for the impact that their lives have had on each one of us. And we thank you for the growth and the new places that you take them. We thank you for the impact of every hug, every look, every word. And we pray cafeteria in the PBO, and this guy walks by and he's wearing an MXPX t-shirt, which really dates me right now, because those guys are like 55. And I went, ooh, I wonder what bands he likes, and that was the first thing I said to him. And then I found out he was a pastoral ministry major, because that's like the first thing you ask people at college. And I was like, yeah, you're cute, but no thank you. I grew up in the church, and pastors' wives had way too much pressure. I didn't really have a good, what I want to say? I didn't like the one that I grew up with. No one I knew in the church really liked her, so why would I want that job? And then they did too much, and I did not want to do too much. Unfortunately, Tim's really good at wooing. And after being together and not being together, we came here because I didn't really have any other church. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but one of my things about visiting churches at PBU is, did I fall asleep during the sermon? Because if I did, no thank you. And I did. I fall asleep in several churches around here after trying them. But I liked Craig. I liked the boy I was coming with. And, everyone just kind of stuck around and talked to you afterwards. You weren't just, a student that was just coming. And I think that's something that has always been a core of the journey, is that you're never too young, you're never too inexperienced, you're never too anything. If you want to join in, why not? Why not figure out? And I think that for the two of us, that was something we really wanted to make happen. Part of that was Craig did that for us. We broke up at one point, and we're still attending because I didn't really have anywhere else to go or a ride. Even then, after Tim left, I got to figure out who I was at the journey. And I got to sing with Bill Beveridge. And we had lots of fun trying to figure out what musical artist would sing this worship song best. Johnny Cash came up multiple times. And then randomly, I think like Elton John and stuff like that would come up as well. We would try to figure out all those different ones. Well, the music guys figured out how to make the music work. We were just singing. But I really got an opportunity to be Stephanie and let that be. I was just me here. And then as Tim interviewed for different churches, and this one just kind of fit, I guess his coming here and even the way that this church is just really allowed me to mature at my level. The level that I needed to mature at, that's what this place gave me. I determined that as a pastor's wife, if there was someone in the church that was equipped and wanted to do it, I wasn't going to do it. I didn't care. Because that person deserved the opportunity, not me just because I had a title. I insisted on not becoming a member until I chose to be a member, not just saying I do. Here's the things that really mattered to me, because I wanted to show that I was choosing the church. It wasn't that I was choosing Tim. And that I wanted to be a part. A lot of people talked about how real and authentic people are here. And I hated that about church growing up. You didn't talk about anything you struggled with. If I didn't smile at a little old lady, she would tell me, "Why didn't you smile at me?" And my day went from 100 to 0 in 2 seconds. That doesn't, just because I smiled at a little old lady didn't mean that I was
to myself in order to feel like I can live every day. I can't be that two-faced person I was in high school. It always bothered me. And I loved the fact that I could go to a women's group and could say, I really struggle with being reflective. I wish that I was more like that. I wish I had more self-reflection. And then probably about 3 or 4 years after saying that like multiple times, Laura's like, you're one of those self-aware extroverts I've ever met. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, good, I'm making progress. But I don't feel like there are very many churches that would have allowed me, even as the pastor's wife, not to act like I had it all together from the very beginning. And I really appreciate that in so many ways. I really appreciate the fact that my title didn't mean that you couldn't be my friend. That meant a lot to me because that would have made me feel very alienated, and I'm just very grateful that I call you friend more than I call you just congregation member. That means a lot. There are so many pieces of my heart that I feel have threads that have specific people's names on them. And I am forever grateful to everything you've allowed me to be, to every way you've allowed me to speak to you, and for every way you've allowed me to mess up. I'm very grateful.
How do you say goodbye? I don't know how. I really don't. When I resigned in November, my sermon became, how do I preach my last sermon? Especially since it may be my last sermon. And then when the decision came down, it became, how do you close a church? So I tossed away that sermon. And many of you who know that I prepare my sermons months in advance, this is the first time that I have nothing prepared. Because nothing fit. Up on the screen you see the sentence, how the journey saved the church for me. And hearing your stories, that seems to be the theme here. You saved the church for your pastor, too. And one of the weights and burdens of being a pastor is that you carry so much that it's hard to tell your story. And many of you have gotten bits and pieces of my stories over the years. Some of you here have never heard it. You were here long before I ever came. And so today I'm going to try to tell my story of how this place has changed me and how you made me believe in church again. And there are 3 things that I feel like I'm losing here today. One of them is I don't know how not to be a pastor. If you, Greg, you know this. When you're a pastor, it's who you are. No matter how you try not to have that be, it's your identity. So, I don't know who I am outside of that. And now I get to find that out. I don't know who I am apart from you. You know, one of the things that I discovered when I started working at my new job in August was the difference between the job that I do now and being a pastor. One of the things I don't know how to do is that every day I woke up thinking about the journey, thinking about you, praying about you, racking my head to the core trying to figure out how to turn this place around. And I don't know how to stop that. I don't want to, but I have to. And all I can say is that I'm sorry that this is the day where we close. It will be a burden that I will always bear. And so when Brandon and Kelly, when you came up here and spoke, you spoke about how I feel. It's not easy closing a church. You know that. We're in this together. I grew up in a church. The other piece that I'm leaving behind is probably not the most difficult of pieces, and that is that the denomination that I grew up in is the Christian Mission Alliance. I've known no other church, no other denomination. And I'll be leaving that behind as well. And my parents took me to a Christian Mission Alliance church since I was born. And when I was 5 years old, or 6 years old, I sat in Sunday school, and they told me the story of Jesus. And they told me that he died on the cross for my sins and he resurrected, and that he could be my friend. And at 5 or 6 years old, in the simplicity of it, I thought, well, this sounds amazing. Like, this guy did this for me, for all the bad things that I did. And so I made that initial prayer at that point in my life. So I grew up in church. I knew nothing besides church. My church, for most of my years, was just an ordinary, average experience. But I was in that church for 20 years until I went to college. So I thought that was just like everybody's experience, you know? Like, you just stayed at the same church. And my parents built that into me, loyalty and faithfulness. Like, you don't just leave over anything, right? These are people that you care about, you love, and you stick with them. And I'll tell you what formed my identity and formed how I feel about being a pastor over the years. And I see some of these faces in this crowd who are here today, and there were times where you would have been justified to walk out that door, and you stayed anyway. And I look at your faces, and I will always love you for that. Always. Because you taught me the heart of the gospel. You taught me that people matter. You taught me that the things that we could divide over, the things that other churches divide over, you didn't allow those to become an issue. There were disagreements, like any church, but you stood in the core of that. You taught me that mattered. So when I was 13 years old, I'm going to ramble here, sorry. I don't have prepared remarks, but when I was 13 years old, I felt like God was saying to me, hey, you should become a pastor. And my church at the time gave me an opportunity to preach at the age of 16. And I'll never forget that. Like, wow, I'm 16 years old, and like a Sunday night service, you give me this opportunity to preach. And they cultivated that in me. And, I have a lot of insecurities that I fought through with that, and of worthiness, etc. And they still gave me a chance, And so I went to PBU. And when I went to PBU, as Craig said, I walked into this church. Now, I was like, cookie cutter, white boy evangelical Protestant. This black garb, like he said, wasn't going on. Now I had a suit, I had a tie, I think. I mean, that's what I was raised in. That's like you dressed your best to come to church because Jesus wanted you to. So, like, I don't know, it was Karen who said, like, if I stop going to church, I'll go to hell. If I didn't wear a tie, I was going to hell, And it was never said that way, of course, but he felt it. And so I came in here, like, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really formulate my ideas about faith and my own faith. I just absorbed everything like kids do. Like, this is who you are, this is the faith that you have. It wasn't until I went to Bible college, ironically enough, where because they were teaching me to think and engage the Bible, I began to think and question things about my own faith. And I was taught that if there were these pillars of my faith where if they weren't core essentials, but if you took one of those things aside, there were kind of assumed cultural things that are part of Christianity in America. If you took one of those things aside, everything fell. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. Like, this is my faith. Like, I was so fearful of it. And one day, and I can't pinpoint the matter, as I was questioning these things in my life and my heart, I kicked over one of those pillars, and my faith still stood. Because it wasn't standing on those things that I had grown up thinking it did. And so my church experience was rather unremarkable and ordinary until I was in Bible college, in the church I knew my entire life. My mom was the secretary there, my dad was the elder there. And my mom, if you know my mom, she's the sweetest, most unassuming woman, and incredibly innocent. And she's maintained that even to her 60s. You know, I wish I was like that in some ways. She got really hurt by the pastor. And I remember going home, and my family's hurt. The fact that they would have to leave the church was like, what? This must be serious, because they would never do that. And just seeing my mom hurt and wounded really affected me. And I began to question whether this church thing really even mattered, and if it can even work. And at the time, I still was trying to figure out whether I was struggling with being a pastor. Like, I'm here at Bible college, I'm becoming a pastor. That means I'm going to be employed by the church, and I'm questioning the church. Like, you know, well, now what am I going to do? And so when I went home during those summers, I didn't have a place to go. That my home was gone. And we feel that here today. Our home is gone. And so being young and naive, what I said was, I'm going to change all that. I'm going to go into Christianity, church, and institutionalism, and be a reformer. That's what it became. That became my call. And I went on several interviews for youth pastor positions in different alliance churches. And right before, I was burnt out by the experience sometimes. I mean, some of the times it was our decision, this isn't a fit for us. Some of the questions that we received were rather ridiculous. And I came and I said, okay, nobody wants me, and I can't seem to find a fit, so I'm going to send my resume out one more time to the Eastern PA district and the other districts that I had my resume out. One more time, and after that 6-month period is over, I'm done. I'm not looking for pastoral ministry anymore, because nothing seemed to turn up. And then Craig left, and the district sent my resume to you. And then my question was like, I don't want to come to a church that I'm like, just because you guys, I know you. I don't want to just come here and if it's not God's will. I had to struggle through that. But when we sat in that meeting, and the questions that they directed towards Stephanie were fair, and the directions they directed toward me were fair, and they were incisive, and they were intentional questions, I thought, wow, this church has really thought through this. They know what they want. So at 26 years old, I came here, and I said, wow, a senior pastor, 25, 26 years old. I remember being scared, like being timid, because there are older people in this crowd. I'm like, what do I have to teach them? You know, and I've always heard stories like of how older people like treated younger people in leadership, and I was just really timid and really like I wanted to learn from them, etc. And you guys put that all to rest. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks in of being a pastor. Fred Pepperday was just telling me one of his many stories. And I loved his stories. I'd sit there and listen to them hours. Even if I heard them again and again and again, they were still like just so engaging, you know? And he said, yeah, when they painted that building out there, I came in and I said, what is this place, a Mexican restaurant or Hooters? I said, if this come into this church and tell me that he thought this place was a Hooters, maybe I could fit in here. Then I knew that, and there were other comments that were made like, we really support you, we really believe in you. And I didn't know what I was doing, you know? I grew with you. And what I want to do here is create a culture where you felt loved more than anything else. And in the process, you made me feel loved. And I always thought growing up in church and going to Bible college, that there was one way to do life. And my faith became much more nuanced from being your pastor here. And you took in the lost and the lonely. I know we've had a lot of sharing today, but I want to share briefly 3 stories of people that aren't here. 3 emails that I received. One of them is Lisa. Lisa's in a hospital right now. She's been in the hospital for a week. So she can't be here today, but you can be praying for her. But this is the first email I got from Lisa when she was checking out this church. This is not the first time I've checked out your church website in the past month or so, but it is the first time I felt compelled to drop an email. I'm in one of those situations where I just went through a really painful church breakup, so to speak. I thought about checking out the journey about 3 weeks ago, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, so I went to church online. That is what I've been doing because I don't want to be hurt again. Yeah, I'm kind of hiding right now. I'm online young adult ministries grad student. I just started a new semester, so I guess that's really got me thinking about the whole church thing again. I'm a people person who loves to serve without people to love and serve. It sucks. I told my husband that I wasn't going to care about people anymore, but he told me that I would care again because that's just the way I'm wired. Truthfully, he's right. But at the same time, I worry about him because he was vowed not to set foot in another church ever. Unlike me, he really does mean that. I don't really know why I find myself writing this email in particular. Maybe just putting it out there. Maybe hoping you'll keep me in your prayers and I'll have the courage to put the pain and the hurt inside and take a chance again. I've never been without a church home. In 11 plus years, I've known the Lord, and I hate not having one. So anyway, thanks for your blog post. It really did get me thinking. Blessings. Many of you who know Lisa, she's given me permission to share this. You know, she struggles with bipolar issues and borderline personality disorder. And you guys provided a place. I mean, when Lisa walked in these doors, she would sit on that couch with her headphones on and her own little world. And now that you know her, she's much more open because of the healing that you brought by loving her and accepting her, by giving her a place to tend to flowers and the beautiful flowers that she would tend to out there. This place was home to her. Another story is from Annette, her son Dan. She's talking about her son Daniel. I'm so looking forward to attending your service this Sunday, 9/18, with my 21-year-old son Daniel. Daniel is a shy, lost soul looking for hope and friendship. He suffers from chronic mental illness. He was raised as Christian, however, due to an abusive husband, my children suffered from emotional and physical abuse. Daniel had the effects from the household. He went to spark his relationship with God again, and I felt would give him some light and hope. I think you might have a place he could call home. As you see, Daniel had several tattoos, gauged ears, and is often judged as offensive. I don't believe he will feel that way in your sanctuary. Thanks. Looking forward to meeting you, Annette and Daniel. I'd like you to put up the picture that's on the PowerPoint right now. Next slide. 1 year later, Daniel got baptized. Because you gave him a safe place to find yourself. Last email that I'll read to you is after we did the clothing drive for the victims at the Racket Club apartments who were devastated by a fire. This woman who wrote, just want to thank you for all the work you are doing to help the people affected by the fire at the Racket Club. I lived there, and although it was not my building, I realized that it easily could have been. Yours is the only church in the area that I know of, including my current one, that is actually taking action and physically doing something for these people. While prayer goes a long way, clothes and food do also. Thank you for being both there, both in spirit and body for our neighbors. I hope my family and I can participate in service with you soon. These are just a few of the stories of what this church means. And so much has been said about this church being small but having a big impact, and I think you've got that here today. And one of the things that Brandon mentioned is that we just grow and contract. We're ascending church. There are so many people that are elsewhere from the journey that are doing work for God's kingdom somewhere else. And today, you're being sent again. You have a story to tell. And that story is what you experienced here at the journey. And I look around at these faces, and I can't fathom that this place won't exist tomorrow. But I know that you will exist. And I know that nobody will know about the journey unless you tell your story. So don't let these stories stay here. Because I'm going to tell the story when I know that my journey is going to take on a new role, and I don't know what I'm going to experience. But I know this. I know that never again can I say that church can't work. I know that never again can I say that healing can't be found in a place. I know that never again can I say that you can't feel amazingly loved by people. That the hands and the feet of Christ walk beside each of you. And I look at your faces and I see it written all over it. In tears, in laughter, and in joy. And I'll tell you what, it was worth every second of it. Every dollar that was given to this place by many of you, when it didn't look like we had enough to do anything. Every time and effort that you put into this place when you were burnt out. Every child that you watched week in and week out, when you didn't get to experience church services yourself because you were in a nursery serving other children, those children will remember you because you love them. Every one of you. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because you made the best decision. And I know what it's like to question that. Because when I went to hand in my resume, or hand in my resignation at the governing board meeting, I was pacing my office and I was like, no, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. When the decision came down, the first thing I said is, I'll stay. I'll stay. Because I can't imagine life Sundays not being your pastor anymore. I just can't. So thank you. Thank you for calling me here. A young guy that knew nothing. Still trying to figure a lot of things out. I love every one of you. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to serve each of you communion. Because one of the things I don't want is the memories to fade. I want to look you in the eye. I want to give you communion. And I want to share what has brought us together. That's the body of Christ and the blood of Christ. So we're going to try to feed the 5,000 with one loaf of bread. Because we weren't expecting all this. During this time, there will be a slideshow presentation that we'll be scrolling. And it'll be all the pictures of all the years. Some of them might be funny, some of them might be, reflective. But just enjoy this slideshow and reflect on what Jesus has done in this place. And Stephanie, I'll walk around so if you can.
do is sing 2 more songs, just to end out our final service here.
You guys can stand, stretch your legs a little.
song. We're just gonna do this a cappella, actually. Musicians, you can stand up here if you like, or you can join. Actually, I think I don't want to be up here for this one. I'm actually going to be amongst you guys singing because I feel like this is too separate for me. So I don't want to leave. I want to be a part.
You dwell in the songs that we are singing, rising to the heavens, rising to your heart. Our praises filling up the spaces in between our frailty. Everything you are the keeper of my heart. I am restless, I'm restless, till I rest in you, till I rest in you. I am restless.
can't even begin to describe the power of your love and your spirit in this place and the way that it has changed so many people, that it has saved and rescued so many people. Let me tell you, a lot of people measure the success of a church by certain number of conversions, baptisms, and stuff. Let me tell you what they don't account for. It's people who were lost to the church, people who were wounded, found healing. Lord, we know that your purpose was immeasurably manifest in this place. And we thank you for that. And we just thank you for that time. We praise you for that. We praise you for being the shepherd that brings you flock. We praise you for being the shepherd that goes out and finds the lost sheep, God, because so many of us here where there's lost sheep, you came after us, and you brought us here. Lord, you rescued so many of us. We were already saved. We were already in the church. We knew all about the Bible and God and everything, but what we didn't know was that the gospel was alive. And Lord, we just thank you so much for the men, the ministers who have come through this place and shown us that the gospel is alive and it will live on after today. Lord, it's sad, but we also praise you for new life and transformation, God. Thank you for the time that we had here. Just thank you for bringing us peace today as we move on to the new things that you have for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I want to thank all of you for coming to the Journey's version of a Pentecostal service. We sang a whole month's worth of songs in one day. We're going to have a luncheon, so feel free to dig into that. And then we're also going to have a group photo at some point. So if you want to be part of that group photo, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. So